Welcome to the Positive Pen Podcast, where your stories and soul work matters. Now let's dive in. Good afternoon, everybody. I was waiting for our guest, and she hasn't shown up, Megan. So anyways, we're an hour early than normal. And where she's from, it lives in an area that is Peru that can be very difficult, sometimes challenging with the internet and so forth. So, but we're going to do this. And if she comes on, we'll bring her in. In the meantime, I got some things I need to cover and talk about. Some of the things that I think that it's going to help you and help you understand where things are going. But I want to check on a couple of things before I do. And one of the things I want to make sure that I'm live on Substack, because you never know. Sometimes it's challenging. There I am. Oh, there we go. So a couple things I want to talk about. First off is the Ciao Bella project. You'll notice me posting about it. One of the things I'm posting is that we're running a fundraising and so forth. And I'm going to show you the screen. So if I'm going to do this quickly, I'm going to do this first since I'm being a little bit, if you go to my page, oh, I hear her. She just came in. So we're going to stop doing that. But one of the things is Ciao Bella is ongoing. You can go on my page and you can look for it. And on there, you can look at the video. There's things going on. The reason why we're raising the seed money, the most important thing is to help with the research costs that we're incurring here. The other thing is to create documentaries and the film and all that kind of other stuff. And we got to pay some of the stuff out there, some licensing fees and things like that, and narrator and all other things that comes together. And we're planning to put this together and produce something within the year. And that includes a book and a documentary. And in there, when you go on the website, it's called Kickstart, the fundraising there, it gives you all the little things, the tiers and all that kind of stuff. We'll talk more about it as we could dedicate. I'm going to bring Hazan in, and when I dedicate a good hour on it and talk about the project and see, hopefully resonate and give some more funding. The other thing I want to talk about is also the Substack authors. June, it's now launched. We're fully engaged. You know, the most important part of this is, and I think some people are missing the point, and I don't mean this to be negative, but the reason for the purpose of the book funnel program that I produce and cultivate and get things going is to help other authors get FaceTime of some sort. And one of the things is you can either do this, and I was actually having a really good conversation with another creator about this. You could do this on your own, no problem. Do it on your own. You can do that. I've done it. Multiple people have done it. And one of the things is that it costs a lot of money. It costs a lot. And if you go to a publisher, it costs you a lot more money. What we're trying to develop, or what I'm trying to develop with a few other creators here, Megan's one of them, is to cultivate some type of community that's an ecosystem. And in that ecosystem, we're all helping each other. We're all just pushing it. Here's two things you got to think about. Number one, Substack loves collaboration, no matter what. If you're restacking, commenting, all that stuff, and posting, they love it. They appreciate that you're working together. It's about an ecosystem, creating that. Now take that mindset one more step further. If you are publishing books on Amazon or any other platform, they love collaboration as well. So if you're an author and you are belong in this program and you're reviewing someone else's, they love it because they know you're working with that person. That's the beauty of this. So the more we collaborate together, the more we lift each other, the more we buy, sell, or whatever, how we do this, or just comment or leave a comment, all that kind of stuff. It helps lifts everybody up. And think about it, 35 million people are on this platform every single month. You tap 10% of it, maybe 5% of it, your book sales change. because your comments have increased, the activities have increased, all that traffic, all that stuff gets accounted for. And Amazon says, or even Walmart or Books and Nobles, whatever platform, they'll say, wait a minute, there's something special here going on. And they'll start to self-promote you a little bit based on your activities. So it's really, really important to understand that. That's the reason why we do these book funnels. And I also put it on my website. I started to create like a depository, a library of all these authors. I try to categorize, and trust me, it's a lot of work, but I think it's important because I want people to recognize that these independent authors have great reads. They have great opportunity to share their knowledge, their wealth. There's a lot of good stories out there. And part of it is that we don't know how to reach them. And so I'm trying to create that bookstore. So that's what I'm hoping to do, is build that bookstore out so you can find them easily and promote. While promoting other authors, you might stumble along with something else. So that library is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you can go on my Substack and you'll see the library book, and you can go in there, or the featured authors, you go on there too. And I've also added another element to that is I call them bloggers, but the writers on Substack. I was going to say South Park. That was I caught myself there. But anyways, but the authors or writers, I've also are asking for them to give me their best article. I'll post it, and we'll be kind of like more of a ebook type thing, but doesn't cost anybody, but it just brings more people to their pages, bring more awareness. So that's that. We're going to start doing a little bit more of the featuring of these authors. So the next few weeks, we're going to go doing that. And then in August, I'm going to basically taking a time out because I got too many projects going on, and I want to focus on a little bit more things. And one more thing. So the hospital stay is done, over with. I kind of moved on from that. The Remy story, I want to put more focus on that. I think it's a really important story for us to hear. And the reason why I write these books, especially the Remy's journey, is really my goal is I always put the back of my head, who's going to read this? And I always think of my children, and I want them to read something that they can relate to and understand. So Remy's journey is more than just a book about a dog and his little friends. It really has a lot of undertones, or a lot of values and stuff that I think in today's society we kind of lose with all the noise that we have. So Remy, I'm trying to get that back up and running again and I've been drafting some pages here, and hopefully I'll craft one and produce it on Wednesday. I'm just about finished on that one, but that's going to be going the rest of the summer. And it might be done sooner. And then I'll just, again, all my books start on Substack, and then I shove it, and then I spend some time editing and all that. And then I create a book out of it, or ebook, or whatever I decide to do with it. So there's that. Now, my guest here today is Megan. Now, when I met Megan, she texted me and she said, I can help you with your ringing of your ears. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I had to book a time with her. I didn't realize where she lived until we had a few moments chat. But my interaction with her was facial expressions, making weird noises, scratching my ears, doing the nose, the chin, all that crazy stuff. And then that's like 2 minutes into our interaction. I'm feeling uncomfortable and weird. And she says, hi, how are you doing? It was like, nice to meet you, after we snorted and all this other stuff. It was comical, but it was welcoming, and also nervous because I'm a little shy that way, but it was all good. So I want to welcome Megan to the show. I've been looking to see.
I like to break down the walls. That's what we're doing. We're gonna make weird noises. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well, John. It's nice to see you.
So we got so much to talk about and so little time to put this together. But one of the beautiful things you did was give me a little bit of understanding where your world is from. And as we were talking, we discovered that you were actually living in Lancaster, and I'm not too far from there. I used to live in Lancaster myself, Lancaster, I should say, as the good Amish people would say.
As the
Uh,
locals say it.
yeah, and I purposely mispronounce it intentionally because I don't want to be tied to that. Um, and I always blame it on the English, on the Queen's language.
Lancaster.
The proper English. Um, anyways, so that was like interesting, and there was a couple other things going on, but the most intriguing thing that, like, just your story, just the way you've lived your life. You went from almost a simple, basic life to a very elaborate, chaotic, corporate, out there showboating in Hollywood per se, right? You were doing all that.
Yeah.
And then you ended up in Purdue. And then you went back to almost a very simple life. Like you almost went full circle.
It's true. I have to laugh about coming from Amish roots. And I won't say that I was living in the Amish lifestyle, but I was definitely working in an Amish buffet in high school and an Amish market. And ended up actually marrying someone from the Mennonite lineage.
Wow.
So so yeah, it was a simple kind of small town life. And then I had landed there from being an orphan in Korea, adopted into like this very typical, very Americana white family in small town Pennsylvania. I had a teacher who helped me get scholarships, believe in myself, and apply to a bunch of Ivy Leagues. I ended up getting a full ride at USC, and all of a sudden I was LA Megan, which I was a fish out of water. I had braids in my hair, and I definitely was shocked at the conversations that girls were having. Like, mommy didn't get me this year's Maserati. She got me last year's Maserati. Like my dad's a welder. I'm here on a scholarship and I'm wearing overalls. What is going on here?
You were in the new fad.
It was bonkers. And I remember thinking very early on when I was 18, if this place ever becomes normal, I've gone mad. And I stayed there for 12 years, and I ended up building a career in Fortune 500s and tech, started a couple companies, was working with like huge budgets with very well-known clients. And then, left it all to go travel for a sabbatical, traveled around the world, ended up in a monastery, ended up on the mountains, came back around after traveling through South America and Asia, which was an accident. And how do you accidentally get to Asia? It's a whole nother segue. But I ended up back in Lancaster County, got married to a childhood friend who was from Mennonite roots, and had job offers back in New York and LA to do more startups for lots of money. And every time I thought about doing it, I felt sick, physically ill. Like I had finally felt well for the first time. One of the things that I think is most shocking about this whole journey is the normalcy of how I thought I needed to feel in my mid 20s and 30s. And then when I was eating local food, outside walking, not having pressure on myself, and doing a lot of internal work, I felt well. I felt alive in a way that I never knew was possible. So I always think it's funny because people have a baseline idea of what is okay and what's healthy until they feel better. But I ended up back in Lancaster County, decided to move to Peru after getting married, started a guest home, ran that for a couple of years, started a family, had 3 little boys. And then during that time, we were looking for land, community projects, conservation. So we moved to the jungles of Machu Picchu. I did not plan for it to be completely off grid without water and electricity and in a 1-bedroom hut, but the universe has its jokes. And I ended up living a very, very rural, simple life from being LA Megan, literally partying with rock stars and hanging out with celebrities and dating like well-known Disney show personalities and Harvard law professors and CFOs of huge companies, to living in the jungle and harvesting cacao and washing my laundry in a tub in the rain. I've since left, and now I am back in my little village where my boys were born, still in Peru. But yeah, it took me on a whirlwind where I think it's kind of back around and around again, from very simple to highfalutin billionaires clubs to deep jungle living to here.
You know, that's a lot of self-discovery.
Where am I?
That's a lot of self-discovery.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you think you know who you are until you're dropped into the jungle. You think you know who you are until you're hanging out with billionaires. So yeah, there's a lot of self-discovery and a lot of just like identity breakdown of everything you thought you were. Just realizing it's not true.
So I mean, there's so much about you that I'm interested in. Like, there's so much. And
let's pull a thread. Let's go.
I just think that it took a lot of balls to do all that. And I think a lot of people, I was talking to another person today, and you know, just to get moving and you know, I think there's always there's always disconnect, and there's the in between in people's lives, and you can see it in the nature. You can see it like the sun and the moon, or you know, that night and day. You can see it in different ways in the world, and we don't see them. We see them. Oh, it's a beautiful sunset, or it's a beautiful sunrise, but that's the in between, right? And a lot of people live in the in between. There's an expectation of where they want to go, like the self-image, and they're like visualizing it, and they want to go there, and that's where their heart is. That's where their little child is, making themselves happy. And then there's this disconnect, and the disconnect is where a lot of people live, and they live in this world where there's shame, there's concerns, there's all this stuff, and that goes with a lot of writers. I mean, and she's a writer too, and it's just when you have that disconnect, that means you're confused. That means your whole life is not going to be equalized in ways.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But the question that I have for you, like, did you ever had that disconnect between two? Because it doesn't seem like it. Just listen to your story, because you just went, this is who I am, and I'm going to do it today. I mean, is that basically what it is?
I mean, I don't see it that way, only because from my perspective, I was desperate to fit in. I was desperate to climb the ladder. I was desperate to feel safe financially. I was desperate, like, because of layers of trauma, I had deep, deep insecurity driving me, deep, deep fears driving me. And I think most of us do, only we don't really recognize it until much later. So for me, I wanted to see what would happen. It was like, I was absolutely terrified to go out to Los Angeles. That was kind of step one, was leaving my hometown. Nobody did that. It was absolutely terrifying. People were like, oh, you're going to be so lonely. That's so crazy. I just start to see all these pressures push in on you of like, here's what's expected. And I kept seeing that here's what's expected. So I had to sit and be like, what are my options? And my options were like, I literally considered going to a community college and cutting hair. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful thing. My mom wanted me to do it. You'd be great at cutting hair. You connect to people. And I was like sitting with this, wrestling, like, what would happen if I stayed in my small town and cut hair? But I had a lot of people, and I call them guardian angels, who put the options in front of me. So that teacher, she actually said, Megan, you're not signing on for 4 years. You're signing on for 1 semester. You're only paying for 1 semester. So I think these decisions feel enormous. They feel so overwhelming, and then all of the societal pressure that we don't really talk about until somebody does something different. She broke it down for me. This is only 1 semester. If you don't like it, you didn't fail. You were the cool girl who went and lived out in Los Angeles for a few months. You come back. If you're done after Christmas, you're done after Christmas. Nobody's going to judge you. Nobody's going to, like, at least you were brave enough to go. So she broke it down. And I had the same thing happen when I was moving to Peru. Like, hey, let's try it for 2 years. We gave it this like time cap that was like, you know what? You already traveled for a year on your sabbatical. People do sabbaticals. Even the sabbatical, I was like, this has to be professionally acceptable. So my brain still had to function in the like, this is still kind of acceptable. This is still something that fits in with a societal norm. I wasn't thinking I was brave at all. I thought, this is stupid. I'm crazy. I cried a lot. I never knew what I was doing. I felt lost all the time. But I would have these thoughts that were like a little bit of clarity that were actually more true. You're only signing on for one semester. If you don't like the job, you can leave it. There's no like, you're moving to Peru forever. I was like, I left for a year. Maybe we'll try 2. And if we can't figure something out, we'll be that couple that lived abroad for a couple years.
That's
And so
cool.
I had to mentally become okay with it because there's so much cognitive dissonance and so much pressure from the outside to make choices that feel authentic or feel real. The other thing is I had to ask a lot, am I running from something or am I running to create something? And my question was like, what else is possible? I saw that people were like slaving away on the hamster wheel, doing the thing, scrolling, shoveling like food into their faces and just doing the same thing like a video game. Or see what else happens. And the thing is, there was always that world to come back to. So I always had this sense of a safety net. And if I didn't have that, or a couple guardian angels that were like, you didn't fail, you just tried something for a little bit. And something about that helped it break it down for me to just give it a go. And even when I did it, I was terrified. So when people say you're brave or you have big balls, which I do, no, like,
They're
it
brats.
just wasn't true. I was terrified. I was neurotic.
Yeah.
I thought everybody in the world was judging me. And so there were just a lot of fears that I only faced because it felt slightly logical. And that because I felt like there, and this sounds probably melodramatic, but there was a part of me that felt like I would die if I didn't. Like if I lived in my tiny little hometown and I had an opportunity to go out to a city and I had a teacher who believed in me and I didn't at least try, I felt like there was a part of me that would die. And so I think that that scared me enough to move because I was driven by fear most of it.
So I relate to a lot what you just said. I was drafted by the Italian Army, and I was thinking I want to go to the Italian Army and just do the Italian. And then I had people tell me like, "Why do you want to do that? That's great." I was like, "Well, it gives me a chance to travel, gets me another country. I get a pension per se." And I was just thinking, logically.
Yeah.
And if I can't visit Italy for a while because I'm drafted, and it goes up to the age of 36 years old. Now the draft is no longer in existence, but I still have the draft letter. I just kept it as a keepsake. But I had a lot of people doubting me. And then instead of doing that, I moved to Germany for a year. Now, I came back because my dad was sick and there was a couple other things going on. So I came back. I quit my job. I had enough of it. Didn't feel like I was doing things. I just packed my bags. I had my mom yelling at me, "Why are you going blah, blah, blah?" And I was just, and all this other stuff. And everybody's like, "Well, you're crazy. You're doing this, you're doing that." And then, but guess what I got to see?
The world.
I got to see the world. I got to speak a different language. I got to see the wall come down. I got to experience 3 countries that no longer exist: Yugoslavia, East Germany, West Germany. I can say that proudly.
Yeah.
I mean, Bosnia started within that time. Iraq started at that time. Like it was under siege. Like it was like it was scary, but also at the same time it was cool.
Amazing historic time and
Yeah.
a time that you were meant to be there.
Right.
There are these weird things that pull us, and then there's a bunch of people that are going to yell about it. And then there's this sort of like almost like what would my option be if I turn this down? And it is a weird thing to just make that little decision. Most of the times, it was like the moment I like sent in the letter or the moment I got the plane ticket wasn't like anything more than that tiny little decision. And I have a feeling it's the same for you. It's like, I guess I'm packing my bag and I'm going to Germany. Like once the decision's made, then there's these little actions that just kind of like set up these dominoes. And you look back and you're like, oh shit, I did that thing. But you weren't like, I'm going to be brave and I'm going to follow my path. You were like, this option looks really interesting. And that's sort of logical. And what's in front of me? And I think that just even looking up to see what the options are, like, I'm proud of you for being able to do that and do it in historic times. But when you look back at your life, you're not like, look at what an adventure and extraordinary life I've had. You're like, oh, that, I feel like I ended up there kind of by accident. How'd that happen?
Yeah, but after that, we'll all sit down. No, no,
But
no.
like, people will look at me and be like, you made so many crazy decisions. And I'm like, yeah, but at the time and what was hand in front of me and what I was thinking, it didn't feel that crazy. Like, it didn't feel that crazy to you.
Yeah.
It
No,
seems crazy to everybody else who's like, you just do the thing that you do. You just do the thing that you do. But they kind of are unhappy too. And most of the time they're triggered and scared that, oh my God, that door's actually open. Oh my God, somebody would actually be able to do that. I didn't know that existed before.
like I'll give an example. Lately, like I don't really drink, and when I do drink, it's good, very occasional and it's very minimal. And so I'm usually DD, and I don't mind that, but it gets old. Like when you're like, I'm in my 50s, right? Not saying that I don't want to do it. But I rather do activities. I rather do something that's a little more meaningful. I rather go do and feel and touch and see life.
Yeah.
Sitting at a bar drinking all day does not excite me anymore. And actually, I get bored, and then I start playing my phone, and because I'm like, oh, I'm on Substack, don't you have a spot? Or creating notes, and everybody's like, oh, you're on your phone. I'm like, yeah, but I'm on my phone, not scrolling. I'm actually enjoying
Connecting to cool
myself.
people and being inspired.
Yeah. And that's the difference. And some people don't get that because they're not stimulated that way.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm grateful for Marie. She actually allows me to be me and doesn't expect me to be anything else other than me, which is great.
Awesome.
And that's the same thing with her. I don't expect her to be more than her, but that's where I think when we go back to the disconnect, I mean, like, even with the positive pen and what I'm doing, for example, it took 5 years to put that vision together. It wasn't something that started off right away. In fact, when I first wrote my book, I thought, oh, this is going to be freaking amazing. Everybody's going to read it, blah, blah, blah. Then flop.
Reality hits, and you're like, wait a second, publishers have multiple millions of dollars to publish this, like all of this distribution network, and I'm going against that. That seems fair.
Yeah.
Reality hits,
Yeah.
like
I'm gonna win it all. And yeah, the reality comes in, it hits you across the head, and you think, wow, that didn't work. And you think, oh, your friends, your family are gonna pay for it and buy it. No, only a few would buy it, and maybe a few other people might buy it, but that was it. And that was probably the toughest, that's the toughest reality. And then I sat and did, when I sat and didn't just focus on my writing and just focus on writing for the sake of writing for myself, not for anything else, that's when things changed. And when you sit there and you think about what I've created, like I created a website, which is almost done, and I haven't done anymore because I've lost my little bit my inspiration right there. But I'll get back to it and get going. But that's what you sort of did too. You started to create this world of yours, and it didn't happen overnight. It happened over a period of years.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people miss is that these journeys are not a short run. It takes time because you're crafting your skills, you're understanding who you are, you're getting better at what you're doing, and then you're more focus. And I guess that's where you start seeing yourself more, is where you want to be.
I really think that people don't have the long game mentality. We definitely are entrained in the short-term thinking, reactive, quarterly report, day over day kind of run. But I think that we really underestimate what we can do over the course of 10 years, 20 years, a lifetime. But it doesn't always look like a lot day to day. Like my day to day doesn't look particularly exciting. There's a lot of dishwashing. There's a lot of laundry hanging. There's a lot of, like, this morning, my boys had some big meltdowns emotionally. So we sat with them and played and reframed and talked through it. Like, these things aren't daily exciting, but when we start to have a bigger perspective and a bigger memory of, like, what caused this? When I did things from fear, I ended here. When I did things from fear, I ended here. And I think that the writing's a really big part of this, because you reflect, You record, you don't gaslight yourself like, oh, wow, I had the same relationship 4 times in a row. Didn't work very well. What were the patterns? And so you start to learn over time, but none of this stuff is the external quick. It's all very internal. It's all very much little tiny choices over time that create momentum and then a direction. And then only in looking back, you're like, this was a 5-year project. I actually wrote a story about the very lucky spider where people are like, oh, she just gets to catch all of her food in her web. What a lazy bee. Like, I wish I were like her. And they were all jealous, right? And so I did this journey of this spider that was like trudging through the forest and having her line break and having a bumblebee rip through it and having the storm beat down. Nobody saw it. Nobody saw it until she had the lunch just kind of land in her lap. But the work and the weaving and the journey and the seeing where it even had the most buzzy flies passing by, like she was strategic and she set it up, and it's who she was. She's a spider. Whereas like she was like, the dragonfly wants to hunt. It'd be bored if it was laying up here. The roly-poly likes to be cold under the mud. The ants want to work together and make awesome tunnels. There's a certain amount that each person's journey, each person's authenticity gets compared to this one moment that they see. I had somebody say, like, what do you say when people say, oh, you're so lucky? I'm like, sure. Like, I'm not going to dismiss some of the luck. I also believe you create your own luck. But it's all about this like, comparison that my journey, for some reason, I was around random little weird Asian adoptee in the middle of Amish country. I don't know how that happened. Like, that's a little luck. You know what I mean? Like, that's my journey. That's my story. Your story was like, hey, Italian army. Like, that's not even on my radar. That's your story.
Yeah.
And so like dragonfly being like, oh, she gets to hang in her hammock in her garden. Like, we all have our own journeys and our own gifts and our own path. And those things all sound very cliche until you look at it very realistically. And I'm always like, don't follow my path. Like, if there are pieces that relate or connect in some way, cool. But like, not everybody needs to move to the jungles of Peru and harvest coffee and see what that feels like. For some reason, my journey was like, I want to know this.
Yeah.
I want to experience this. I want to be able to share this. And so, yeah, we all have our own path.
You basically talked about branding yourself in a way that most people don't really understand that in Substack. And that was one of the things that I had a couple very meaningful conversations, I should say, about Substack publishing and things like that. And one of the things I keep harping is build your brand first. And what I mean that is find your voice, be authentic, be real, build the audience, build the community, do the things you need to do to build that foundation. Because without the foundation, you got nothing. You can get all the numbers, like, don't get me wrong, people shoot up to like 1,200 people and all that. And the majority of them are not synced to your brand.
They don't know you, don't get you, don't to you.
And this happened to a creator. She said, I posted this and no one responded. And I said, well, like, it was a call to action, something, was because she's running a seminar and she wants to do a free seminar, and she was trying to do that. And one of the things that I told her, I said, nobody knows you.
Yeah.
And she goes, even though you have over thousands of subscribers, they just liked you for one post.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then you got a subscription, or you did this, subscribe me, I'll subscribe back, without realizing that you needed
a click.
Yeah. And that's simple gratification, which that's okay.
And I would reframe it from a brand, because a brand is a superficial stamp. Sure. And I built brands. Yeah. I used to build brands and be like, Nike means this, Nike means this, Nike means fast. And like, you would build this world around this stamp. But when you really look at it, it's like, build the roots, build the foundation. And it's like, that's deeper. That's the unseen stuff. That's not numbers. Am I showing who I really am? Am I sharing who I really am? Or am I just posting whatever's trendy. Like, I know that's big. Like, oh, it's Easter, let's all do an Easter post. Like, I don't usually do that because I don't have that much interest in it. If other people do, cool, fill the feed with Easter posts. But like for me, it's been more about how do I, like, I've done the inner work to be like, who am I? Who am I? Who am I here? Who am I there? Who am I not? But now it's been like, let people in. And I do think that there's a certain part with like branding and connecting that's beyond this superficial level, but it's really going, can I open up this part of myself that isn't, I know everything, or let's do 10 hacks for XYZ. Like, here are all the algorithm friendly things, and you're going to see a bunch of them. But like, what does it mean to let people in once you know yourself? And even if you don't know yourself, to the process. And I feel like that's such a deeper concept than a brand. And it's a much more depth-based thing. And when we reveal who we truly are, then whatever vibration that is, or whatever people want to call it, just a deeper connection, that's going to root, that's going to hold. So yeah, all of those superficial numbers and whatever viral thing hits, if you don't have this, like, I get you, I see you, that was so cool that you were doing that, I supported you because I think what you're doing is amazing, that meant something to me, then that's not going to stick. And I hope that we build something more lasting. I hope that we can build something that's more sustaining, that doesn't just topple over. I call them like building castles or building towers. If you build it on a shaky foundation that's not rooted, it just falls.
So what do we call that then? Like, because I 100% agree with you. When I call a brand, I guess my meaning is different than yours a little bit, but it's the same meaning.
I see what you're saying, because I do think that from somebody who built brands, they would want to do this storytelling thing. Yeah. And then the thing is to have authenticity behind that your product is good, that you show up for the things that you say you do. Like if a brand says, we support children and families, and then they're actually exploiting them, like that's going to be a disconnect. So I think you can say brand. I don't know, from a language perspective, I look at these things symbolically, that a brand is a seer and on the surface. So for me, it's like depth, create depth, go deeper within yourself, go deeper within the story, go deeper within other people's, that you're not just like, but you're like, this part really meant something to me. I loved how you used this word. What made you think about that? Like, that's the kind of interaction that when we're here on Substack connecting with each other, scroll. The people that I really connect with here are the ones that comment, those are the ones that restack, are the ones that write really meaningful things that are honest and full of something real.
Yeah.
Depth.
No, I totally 100% agree with what you're saying.
Let's build some depth, guys.
Yeah. No, but brand is something I'm just used to using as a word. And I wish I could find a better word, but I agree with you. It's the like you got to build, like when someone says to me, well, how long did it take you to get to 1,600 plus people? And I was like, well, half of them I don't even think they exist.
Out in the ether.
They are totally. They're not engaging. They they just do whatever. And a few of them are probably family and friends that decided just to keep me support, which is fine. The other half, I would even break it down to even another half. Half of them probably don't relate in any way possible because we don't connect on those type of levels. But if I really say 500, I would say, if I'm going to be brutally honest with myself, in that 500 or less really connect with me because we have common mind-like concepts and we appreciate each other, we lift each other, we work with each other, we collaborate, we restack with each other, we comment, we talk to each other on the side or a podcast or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
that's building your voice, your personality, your whateverism, and they're the ones going to keep lifting you up along the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part. And so when someone says to me, well, how did you get there? And I go, look, it took me 5 years to get here. When Substack started, there was no freaking notes. I had no way to get this thing out. And when I started, I started very with like 200 words, 300 words with a picture, and just kind of like, not to the, I took time to develop what I developed.
Yeah.
It doesn't take overnight. And a lot of, and I understand why people look at me and say, oh, he did that. Don't follow my path. You got to start focusing on you first and making sure
Yeah.
you're doing that. And
There's,
go ahead.
I was going to say there's a concept we're touching on that I think for me goes into like very ancient wisdom. There's this concept of reciprocity and even right relations within Indigenous people, where there's a giving and a receiving. There's a giving and a receiving. So most people are entrained in taking. What can I get from this? How can I benefit from this? Want, take. And this is a very, like, we can go even further back. Like, this is a colonial mentality. This is basically like, hey, this land's mine. I know you guys have been living here for thousands upon thousands of years and know every plant and animal, but like, we've got guns and a big old like stick. So ours now, like, and then they start pillaging the resources. So like this idea of the taker, just someone who's like, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? Instead of seeing it as, like you were calling it, an ecosystem, everything having its role, everything having its place, everything having its purpose, and you both give and you receive. You eat and you break down and decay. So like when you're talking about you building, it almost feels like it's taken some time to go from like, here's my thing, you want it? What can I get from you? To being like, oh, I have to participate in this. This means reading other people's stuff. This means sharing other people's things. So now we're getting into this, and this is a harmonious relationship where everything grows, where the tree exhales the carbon dioxide, we inhale the oxygen, that we can actually coexist as a system. But when we go into anything with this taker mentality, and most people don't realize they're doing it. So I don't blame this. I just want to get my numbers. I just want to be read. I want. When we step back from it and see it as this living, breathing, life-based ecosystem, the ancients knew you don't just take, it leaves it dead. You don't just take, you end up alone. When you give and you receive, you create this flourishing thing that can coexist and grow together. So I think that for me, that's like the underlying structure of how to create a network, how to create friendships. It's called right relations. Having a relationship, spending time with a person, getting to know the person, hearing the person, not just being like, listen to me, because that gets old. And we've had enough of that in our world. Everybody shouting to be heard and no one listening.
Wow. Wisdom.
So I feel like that's the energetical root, eh?
That's a lot of wisdom. If you did not get that, I don't know what you're doing here. I mean, serious, that's wisdom.
That's the depth.
Holy shit.
And nature knows it. Nature knows that if you just siphon off of a system, it dies. It's called a parasite.
Yeah.
And so that's what it is energetically. And then when we start to learn that together, as we test, as we trial, as we realize our own programs that say, I just want you to see me. I just want you to see me. Well, what does that mean when it goes both directions? And as soon as we see it from two directions, man, magic happens and all this energy comes together and it just cycles. So together.
So that, I mean, bottle it up, blast it out.
Mic drop. All right. See you guys later. It's been a good show. But that's what I've been studying, is like, this is the earth wisdom. This is the old stuff that a lot of Indigenous people, anybody that worked in the land, like, they just lived it. They walked it. And I think that as we reconnect from this idea of disconnection, we realize that that's a breathing system. We inhale and we exhale. We do stuff and we rest, that it's actually both.
We do have a question. What would happen
Yay!
if we treated Substack as we treat the people we love? This happens human to human, not brand to brand, even brand to human.
Yeah, I'd like to take the title and the label of the brand and the notion and the hack this, hack that, and get to human, because I really think when we start to see each other and see each other's soul and desires, but we have to be able to show that, right? If you're like, here's all my AI slop, then like, okay, go forth, that's fine. But when people really show their depth, it naturally has a mirroring effect. So I've had a lot of people say, like, you've given me the bravery or the opportunity to share more because you share so much of yourself. And I'm like, thank you. Dang. And it was terrifying. I mean, I was like shaking and like hit send and be like, oh, delete it. I mean, just as human and uncomfortable as everybody else. But when we're able to go, let's get human to human, but I have to look at my human first.
Oh, absolutely. You gotta create that piece here first before you can create anything out here. And if you do, it's just quicksand.
Yeah.
The hard part is that creating that piece. And it took me 50 years to figure that out. And 50 years of bad marriage, bad relationships, bad, you name it, bad. And once I broke everything down and became to me my piece, that was a big awakening. But it was scary and it was freaky and it was like, oh my God. But the best part of it all, I was able to live by myself again, just live with me. And I was able to create for me and do the things. And I started to walk down this journey that I'm still doing this crazy thing. So I do want to.
Such a beautiful point, though. It really is, because the ego breakdown and the things we thought we were, and being able to face ourselves, just face it as it is, that is peace. And I really think that all of it happens for a reason, so we can get to that point. But we can fight and kick and scream and be upset the whole way through if we want, which most of us do.
Well, if you got something to say negatively, then you're really talking about yourself.
Always. It's a mirror. I see everything as a mirror. Like, oh, gotta check back in. Ooh, gotta check back in.
So Martin has a question. He says, hi, Megan. You
Hey,
wrote
Martin.
a lot, millions of words. I want to ask you something about writing. Are you some subject too dark and painful to write about? Or is there a right time and place to do it?
Oh, Martin. Martin is a poet from Ireland and
yes, he is.
a dear friend and such an encourager here on Substack. I am writing. I have been writing since I was 8. I have many journals, documents, and
900
transcriptions.
drafts? 900 drafts almost?
Yeah, I think it's 4,000 documents and about 3 million words.
Wow.
From just crazy stories. And I do have a hard time facing some of the darker chapters. I have been through some horrific, unthinkable things, as a lot of people have. Finding a place to be centered and with the space and time to process that, because I don't know anybody who's writing and then looking at it from a different perspective. There is sometimes this link energetically and emotionally where all of a sudden we're writing about like the darkest nights of abuse or the biggest moments of self-doubt. We're feeling that and processing it to be able to have it surface and transform. At least that's how it works in my process. That takes time and space to be held. So like there's a reason we avoid hard shit. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, it's messy, it can be destabilizing to the version of ourselves we think we are. So as things start to break down, that process we don't always have control over. We don't always know how long we're going to be like crying in our bed or like getting sick or whatever is coming during that processing. So lately, I've been wanting to write the books, and I'm asking myself, what am I ready to work through? And what do I have time and space to be held through? Because I used to just sort of charge and then be destabilized. Whereas now it's like, I've seen enough of these waves. I've gone around enough of this healing stuff where you like jig it out and you see the thing, you're like, now what? So I tend to tell people to like go really gently with yourself. There is a reason we've avoided hard, painful shit. It hurts, it's yucky, it's unpleasant, and we don't always know how we're going to respond. So there are parts I think that I've just been very careful about asking what is ready to be revealed, how much I can show and open up. So, and also this part that's just avoiding it because it's scary. So yeah, that has been part of my writing process. And I do have some like things to tick off that are like, these are easier. These are more digestible. These are more accessible to like most normal humans. And then there's like the deep dive stuff that I think is very surprising, very unexpected, and very hard to look at. So that's going to
So
take me some time.
I understand where you're coming from, because I did that with so my first real true book, my true voice, I would call it, is Discovering Vancouver, which I was a little more, it was more of a journal entry. I was writing notes as I was traveling through Vancouver and parts of BC. And I was writing some memories, some stuff like that, some of the travels and all these little cool things. And there I found the voice, right? And what I mean by my voice, I found a pattern that I really enjoyed writing in, and became, that's now where I'm more crafted in that world now. My Earned Not Given was a book about the divorce and things like that. And there's going to be a part 2, just FYI. I just haven't, it's still in my head. I got to put it on paper. But the thing is, in that book, I did expose some heavy, strong stuff that it was hurtful. It was hard to write. There were some things in there that I didn't really dive. I think I did dive in, because at one point my ex-wife texted me or emailed me, and she said, well, what are you writing about me for? More or less. And I said, well, funny enough, I didn't name you.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think this is about you?
Yeah.
It could be another person.
Yeah.
And that's something that I was like, okay. So I must have really wrote something that was hurtful for her. Not that it was bad.
It's just revealing to sometimes things we don't want to see. Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, when you're writing, you're not like, don't get me wrong, I didn't just like write
Bad mouth, trash, hurt someone. No.
I wrote about the situation, how I felt about it,
of course,
from my perspective, and that's all I could do, is write from my perspective.
Yeah.
But when you wrote it from my perspective, there was a different type of angle that she would portray in her language and the way she saw that situation. And that's where I think that's the first time I really was challenged by my feelings in a writing sense. And I put it out there because I knew it was hurtful for me, because it was just, it was a pain that I didn't want to experience anymore. But after I wrote that, I went, I learned a lot from all that. There's a lot of things that I learned that resulted from all that.
Yeah.
And then it also opened up the second chapter of my life, which the second chapter even gets worse. the second book gets worse. Then there's a cliffhanger, but it gets worse. But then there's this bright moment in my life that takes me into a different direction, because like what you said, it was a pattern of recognition of relationships. I was in the same pattern over and over again. And it took me to get, like, the universe, or what do you want to call it, said, you know what? No, you're not listening to me. We're going to teach you a freaking lesson. And this is the lesson. And it's going to be the reality check. And that lesson is the reality check. And now I'm very attentive to all that. And I don't play that as well as I used to. And I don't feed it as much. I'm more reserved and let things develop before I react.
Nice. So, I think you made a really good point about just the layers of what we share, and also how we learn through the process, because there really are so many different layers as we're writing through these experiences, and what we want to share, what we don't, and how we express it, and for what reason. It's like, here's some self-judgment, here's some shame, here's our fear and protection of others, and so, like, as we're peeling back these layers through the book writing process, there is a lot of revelation that can happen. There's a lot of light that can be shined into these areas that we might not have seen before. And that takes some time and space. And so for me, just to answer Martin's question, I have 3 little boys. My priority is their safety, well-being, and stability. And so as much as I want to dive headfirst into book writing, I've learned to be a little less extreme and deep divey, and be like, all right, here's the time for my boys, and then here's what I have to be able to write. And so writing on Substack is very much learning consistency, building relationships, learning from others, showing up for myself and how I feel when I share just a little bit, and then how I respond to that. And then from that, I trust that I'll write the books, but I have to be supported in that process, including supporting myself to make sure I can balance all the things.
So I do want to give you a compliment, by the way. So as you were seeing what I was trying to do with the book funnels and all that kind of stuff that I was doing, you actually wrote to me separately and you said, this is awesome that you're trying to do. You're trying to build an independent community, and within the community, and you revealed that you used to publish before this, and we were going back and forth, and some of the things that you were saying that I was like, there was a lot of times like I was in doubt, and then your voice came in and just basically reinforced what I was intuitively figuring things out in some odd way. I was like stepping along this path, and I was like, does this really make sense? And you're like, no, this makes sense. This is a great journey. Keep going, keep fighting. And, there's today's Substack that I wrote was the reason why I almost quit Substack. And it was legit. I was like getting tired of it. But it's the voices that I get, or the emails or the texts like yours or other things, that help me move on and keep me going and doing what I'm doing. So I want to say thank you. I mean,
I see you, friend. I want to give the backstory for that. First, I received that, and I'm so grateful that I was able to be that voice of encouragement and just like getting what you were creating. I didn't publish, but I worked in publishing. So I was working in Disney publishing, and I was working there for 2 years. And what I saw is this new movement of independent authors, and then these old behemoths that have all of the infrastructure, all of the support, all of the money. And what I've learned over time is individuals against these collective beastly machines that we've all supported, by the way, because we buy them and we buy on Amazon and we do these things. As we move our support in different directions and see what other channels are available, it's a lot of risk taking. It's a lot of doing it on your own. And people don't realize the costs, like you were mentioning, of the graphic designer to do the book cover, the layout, the making sure it's readable, the someone to do the summary. I mean, the layer upon layer upon layer of things that people don't see in the background. I got to see how much effort, energy, resources go into getting one book published, including the international trade fairs. So when you were like, we need to give people visibility, find ways to support each other, lift other voices up, for me, it's like, yes, because this is the ecosystem as humanity. We were designed to create these things together. It was just sort of like, they're better at it, they can do it faster, but then you can't have access. You only have access if you write a certain kind of book, know a certain kind of person, and grind sometimes for years. So being able to create visibility for others, and I really believe in the wingman, the person who isn't just shouting into the abyss themselves, look at me, I'm so great, I wrote a book, read it, to being like, hey, this person wrote something so meaningful to me. This person was brave enough to finish this thing. And we start speaking for each other and pointing people into a direction. I did see the value of having a library and one place where people can go, who are the Substack authors? What is the independent publishing groups? Because everybody's trying to do it alone. And I've watched this years through community projects and community building. Everybody's got their individual project. Everybody's pouring into 10 different things. None of it's effective. All of it gets lost. What an insane waste of energy and resources. So when we can go, let's all put in a little bit to marketing. Let's all put in a little bit to publishing or book layout. Let's get the tools in people's hands. It is really the difference of independent voices being heard or not. So when I saw it, and I was like, dude, a library for authors. Yes. And I had been like following authors and being like, how are people doing it? Ooh, that's really cool. And really excited that this environment exists now, because this didn't exist a generation ago. You had no access to have your voice heard if you weren't part of the club. So now we've got this incredible opportunity through social media and platforms like this, but now we have to go beyond the individuality mentality and only the taking from it, but the like, how do we create something? And it is giving and taking. So John does put a shit ton of energy into it, and reading the books, reviewing, outreach, constant messages, and people don't see how much effort goes into that. But because I've worked on projects like this and been the person responding to every single person's like, I don't get it. Why is the funnel like this? I didn't see the button. And you're like, please read. I'm doing so much work that nobody's seeing. I've just been there, right? You're like, come on. Like, so I really believe in like, when you tell people that, you sound like a bitch. Like, look at everything I did for you, you know? So like having somebody else who just goes, hey, I see you. See how much effort goes into this thing, what comes before, and somebody else can speak for you. It's just a really powerful and important thing. And I think I lost you. You froze. Are we here? Or did we get cut off?
No, you're cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out. Like your internet is not.
So.
But
So that's how we
some
connected. That's why we connected, because I was just like, this is important. I'm going to send every Substack author to John. I know that he's already building some tools. I would say be really careful to not overcomplicate it. And the one true thing about ecosystems is everyone has a gift and a role. And when you allow that to flourish, because not everybody's going to want to write reviews. Not everybody's going to want to pre-read. There's going to be some people who are really good at voicing and sharing. There's going to be some people who are really good at sending you people. There's going to be other people that are like pumping you up. But expecting everybody to fit a certain constraint of here are the things that we offer and here's the things we expect, that I would just say check with that one, because that's when people go, oh, this is too heavy. Oh, I can't do that. And then they get reactive to push it away, rather than to be like, where can I shine? How can I step into this and plug in a way that feels authentic to me? And that tends to be a little bit more fluid. Whereas I think when we set up structures, if people don't fit those things, then we'll tend to resist and push back. So really selling the like, not selling, but communicating the like, this is why it's needed. This is why it's needed. We are up against people with millions of dollars, tons of momentum, all of the access, and then there's us. So if we don't come together, your book will just be hanging out, not being seen. So if that means doing 10 little things a day, or a week, I'm sorry, share one guy, post one thing, and give people really quick, actionable things that they can do. And then they can slowly over time see the results. Like we were saying, it won't be overnight. Then we kind of can see how these things can fit together in a slow growth model, if that makes sense. So, no, and also I wanted to say, you've encouraged me, because I thought about quitting Substack too. And you sent me, you're like, I'm highlighting Megan's thing. I was like, I am writing. There are really amazing people here, but sometimes I'm tired. So we need to hear that voice to be like, I got you. I see you. Keep going.
No, you're an inspiration within itself. Like if I could have you right here beside me saying, you could do this.
We got this. We got this. You're doing it. You can record this one. Come on, John. Show up one more time. Go rest when you need to. Like we're doing rounds here. This isn't one quick fight.
When my ears started ringing again, all I needed to do is like do this and like this. And
I wanted to ask, the ringing stopped, yeah?
No, it comes in and out.
Okay.
It's not as bad.
Notice when and why. Notice when and why. Because there is an input and a closure that happens with a trigger. So just notice when and why, and then how to open it back up.
It's actually information.
It is, but there's another layer there.
Another layer? Okay.
Another layer there. And those can be emotional things. Those can be self-talk things. Those can be different things that trigger it from an experiential part, because basically what I see about the body is it closes up when it doesn't feel safe. So when that ear closes, then that sound gets squeezed through, and so there's a closure that happens when something doesn't feel safe. So it can be too much input of noise. It can be working too hard. It can be not when you're resting. It can be when you're too dry and the whole thing heats up. So there's just different layers that I ask people to look at, because I just heard it, but I'll share it on the side.
So I do want to promote what you do. So if you're interested in the woo-woo stuff, I don't mean to sell it that way, but
You
if
want to
you
talk to a
really
crazy hippie Asian lady in Peru that does weird stuff and makes you do funny faces, you might feel better. Go ahead. Sell it. I'm ready. If you
no,
feel
but
shitty.
if you want to have a little bit more grounded in your life, or you need something to understand who you are more of, this is a person you should go talk to.
I'm here.
Okay. She's a true, genuine, down to earth lady who can feel your waves or get your sense. I mean, there's no joke. When we were playing around, that the ringing went away. Obviously, it came back. And I keep doing it. I do the breathing treatments that she taught me. It kind of goes away, comes back. Sometimes the way I eat or things I do, it comes back. Loud music bothers the crap out of me now. And my tendons in my body are stressing. And that's part of the inflammation and things that are doing that. But my point is, when she was teaching me breathing, it helped me understand what I need to do when she's not around. And that's something not really a lot of people understand. In today's medicine, that doesn't happen a lot. And a lot of it has to do with Mother Nature, I would call it. A lot of it has to do with your body, with your food, the way you drink, the things you do. That if you really want to get down to who you are as a person, set up an appointment with her.
Thank you, friend.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I use the quick title healer, but yeah, I spent a lot of time asking how the body heals and how it regenerates, and got to see some really amazing things and very practical, small, incremental steps that can help you feel a lot better.
Right. So the publishing part, I just want to get that out because I don't want to forget that, because I think that's really important.
Thank you.
But the publishing part, when you talk about a lot of work involved, there is a lot of work involved. And in fact, Saturday, there was a couple of people that did a couple of great things. They reposted, Danny Levy did it, a couple other people who were on this June thing. They started to promote other authors and things like that, which is great because Substack loves that. If you don't understand that, Substack loves collaboration. They love these ecosystems. And that's the intention, is to beat out the publication, because that's if you really think about the story about Substack, that's the reason behind it, is to be the competitive to a publication company.
Yeah.
But in that, so Saturday kept going, and this one person wrote back and said, well, I don't see any of those activities. No one's bought my stuff. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to buy it. I'll buy her book. Not a problem. And not that I was trying to prove a point, is that I wanted to show that someone has to take that willingness to do that. And you can't force people to do it. Either they're going to do it and do it because they want to do it, or they do it because they think it's going to help other things, or they're going to, whatever the reason is. And some people won't do anything. They just expect to be handed to them as a taker. And that's fine too. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But if people realize, and this is what I'm learning about Substack is about collaboration. You have to collaborate. There's no question that you have to restack, you have to comment, you have to do all. And yes, I sometimes have a hard time doing all that, but I do the best I can when I can. And it doesn't mean you have to do this 24/7. That's not the idea.
No.
But the idea is at least you comment a little here and there. And a lot of people do that follow me, which I appreciate. But on Amazon, what I've learned also, if you're an author to author, they love that, because they know you have products on their website. They know you have products here, and I'm assuming it's the same with other platforms out there in your publication. So if you're writing reviews for each other, or you're buying books for each other, or doing things like that, or even leaving a 5-star review as an author to an author that has books on Amazon, they see that as a value added.
Mm-hmm.
And so same thing as Substack is the same thing with Amazon. If you choose not to do any of that kind of stuff, that's okay, because at the
Yeah,
end of the day, those who do contribute are going to benefit out of it.
of
And more
course.
people are going to understand that more because they find it value added. So when that person said no one's doing it, I bought her book, and my question was, where can I leave a review? And it was an ebook, basically a download, and it was leave a review on Substack. Well, where do I leave a review on Substack?
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I looked at that and I was like, it, and then I thought to myself, well, okay, I bought her, and I'm going down this rabbit hole, just not not a negative way, but just kind of like the thought process I was going.
Sure. Follow the thread.
Like, so I bought her book. Do you think she'll ever return that favor back to me? Probably not. And is that
Yeah.
better to me? No, because at the end of the day, it's about helping each other, promoting each other, working with each other.
Yeah.
As long as we have that mentality, that's what's most important.
Yeah. And honestly, it's just like we were talking about working against momentum from the publishing behemoths. We're also working against momentum of entrainment of humanity, how the brain and the muscle memory and what the stakes are. So, like, if we've been trained in soccer and everything is a competition, our brain starts to just rewire those synapses. Everything is a competition. If our brain is, I'm always looking for the deal, what can I get? There's an unwinding process and a coming apart process. So I have to give humanity a lot of grace that we can have these perfect ideas of what we would like people to show up as. But the deep truth of it is that most people have a lot of inner work and revelation. Like, do I do things just to get something back? Or do I do things out of love? Do I do things out of fear that I'm going to be judged or kicked out? Or do I do them because I truly want to? And when we can start to find these motivations and intentions within ourselves, why am I doing this? Because if you can't see the bigger picture, that drop by drop by drop by drop things grow, then you're going to want quick results. You're going to want the fast buy. If you can't yet see, and most people can't because they've tunnel visioned into the programs tell me I win, you lose. The programs tell me if I give something and I don't get something back, you're a jerk. What is a gift? What is participation? What is true lasting growth? These are questions we all have to ask ourselves, because everybody's going to be motivated by different things and people are going to show up as they are. So for the woman that wanted the book purchase right away, there's no explaining to someone, this is just starting. We just gave you some visibility and hopefully encouragement. And if that's not enough, that's okay. And if you don't have a funnel for receiving the feedback and creating this loop, right? Buy, purchase, give back, then let's talk about that. But what are we driven by emotionally, individually, that says, you need to do this for me? If you don't give it back, I mean, this is like old playground kid stuff. This is how we grew up, right? It's mine. I have 3 little boys. It's mine. I had it first. I want it now. I mean, we're talking like,
God, that's a lot of work.
right?
30
So
days.
the truth is, many adults are not so far away from this. I want it now. I don't want to wait. I don't want to do the work. And so that's okay. But it's going to take some time and re-muscle training and supportive systems. And at the end of the day, the people that will show up, and the people that don't. And these are things out of our control. So how do you cultivate an area that is encouraging of that growth, encouraging of that development without the tit for tat, leading by example, and also knowing it might not work and it might not work fast. So there's a lot that we're just figuring out and learning and growing as we do it. And your willingness to do it is so beautiful. And you're willing to learn from the process is so beautiful. But yeah, I have done a lot of projects with a lot of different people. I've lived with 500 people in a guest home from different places, different ideologies. I studied psychology and how to motivate people to click the button. And it's hard. You're working against a lot of stuff. So if people get it, awesome. Feed that, encourage that, hear the feedback. But if they don't, know that we're literally moving against an entire system that's been around for hundreds of years and a psychology that's been around for thousands of years. So to give ourselves a break and go, there's going to be some hiccups, there's going to be some growing pains, we're going to have to build some stuff and tear it down and try some other things and see where it goes. Because these creating new models is brave and beautiful work.
I'm going against a grain.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going against a grain of independent thought. That's number one. That's the first challenge you got to go through. Like, collaborate. The second challenge you get is obviously competing, posting it on a platform that makes sense. And a lot of people don't do that because they feel that Amazon has this or whatever the case may be. And then, and I'm not saying that's wrong or bad. That's your belief. That's the way you want to do it. Then I'll work with you with that. And then the other one is the publication. Like now you're fighting against the publisher. You're fighting all that stuff. And then you're on Facebook. Then you're on, what I do with all my posts, like I do a physical review of their books, and I might buy them or do something, like I'll read it or get an eBay, whatever. I'll somehow I get a skinny of it or I get something of it, and I start reading it, and then I get a gist of what the books are, and then I write a little bit of quick review, and then I promote it on my Substack, and then I promote them on my Twitter account, other accounts, and all that other stuff. And then on top of that, on my Facebook groups, I also promote their books, not mine, theirs. And not that because it's not because I guess the reason for all that is I believe in the process, and I believe in the cause, that if we lift each other up, other people are going to see it, and they're going to start, like I have, a couple group chats in different areas that I just plug their books in, and hopefully they get going. And once they start seeing the activity and they start seeing the sales and all that kind of stuff, guess what? If a few successful people are getting the hits and they're getting what they need, that just means the program's working.
Yeah.
And that more people will participate. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. What's really interesting is your model of creating a lasting place for Substack authors and a library, I think, is brilliant. And I think the instinct to share and expand the voice of that book to become basically this marketing force that it can reach eyes. I think that those are your two most powerful kind of seeds of what is needed. I would say outside of that, there's a lot of different pieces and check marks and areas that authors can grow, but I would come back to the root of that. And even within your groups, be like, here's the book that we all want to push this week. Here's a little blip about why it's really cool. Can you share about the library this week? And get one whoosh of like library, hits the feed, because it's a numbers game and it is a collaboration game. So knowing how the algorithms work, knowing how the platforms work, I do think is helpful. And then when you can actually hit that visibility wall very quickly, and the ask is very small, hit the restack button, share the thing I've already created. There's not that much what I call barrier to entry. We have to remember people are busy with kids, doing this as a side project, already put their blood, sweat, and tears and late nights into their book. So what is the easiest possible ask? Anytime we overcomplicate things, anytime we add too many options, people get lost, and then they get frustrated, and then they get confused. So from the marketing step of like, get people to the action, make the action quick, simple, fast, and what's the seed of what feels instinctually right to get visibility, I would say, let people know that there's a library on Substack. Let people know this is the hub where you can get your book visible and lasting. Let people know that this is a project that's building. That's it. That's the ask. And then the second one is, here are the May books. Here's the top one. Here are the May books. Here's a couple different covers. And you simplify the funnel down. You simplify the ask down. You simplify what that one click is for the the network that you've already built, because otherwise constant messages, constant WhatsApps, constant emails, constant shifts of what that direction is, asking them what they want, as much as we want it to be democratic, you're holding it. You're holding the responsibility of every single email, update, whatever. So the easier it can be for you, the simpler it can be for you, and the simpler it can be for the user is going to just flush out the noise. And once the noise is flushed out, people have a very simple step. You get to test that over the course of 3 months. See which ones, everybody wants to know about the library. Everybody wants to be involved in the library. Cool. Then put more energy into just making the library super functional, super readable, super without glitches or bugs. But if you spread yourself out into a lot of different ideas, I call that tower building. And basically what happens is then you're trying to hold up so many different pieces. Some are working, some aren't. You can't quite tell what's working, what's not. And people are getting frustrated and backing up and being like, whoa, too much. So that's the experience I had from startups and building and getting people into community projects and stuff like that.
Well, the one thing I want to get to is the book launches. So I agree what you're saying, but I want to, like, it's been I'm working on my third launch this year. And I want to get to the point where I'm just promoting the new releases, but promoting the library. The library, it's okay, but I kind of want to make it more simple, like you said. I want to create a couple things, and it's just I'm using Shopify as my platform, and it's not as easy as to navigate. There's a lot of coding. There's a lot of stuff behind the door that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like that whole back. Like
people have no idea the complexity of e-com and tech platforms. I do. Well,
I'm writing code. That's why I took a break from building. It's just like I'm writing code. I'm actually reformatting. I'm redesigning. I'm trying to get this little module, whatever I'm trying to build, from plug and play to something completely different, like an Amazon store, almost, not saying it's an Amazon store, but something completely different that doesn't act like that. So I'm coding everything in the background, getting that going. So I've taken a break from it. I was like, okay, I need to cool down. It's getting too complicated. That's not what I wanted. And I'm kind of like, okay, how do I fix this up? So the page for the library is, I'm trying to make it a simple one-click go type thing. And that's a process. But I think what I want to do is build a team, what that looks like, where we have a group of people who does reviews, that chooses a review, that buys a book, reviews, do these little small marketing programs where it fits every single book, and it's a stamp that you can keep repeating over and over again without making it complicated, and where people can just share the book, do all of it, like keep it simple, like how you said it. And I was like worried about how we're getting complicated, like we're getting too complicated, and that's why I kind of like stopped it for a bit, just to kind of back out and kind of like, okay, I got to really think about this, because I'm liking how things are materializing.
Yeah.
And
things get kind of lost in the shuffle and a little bit spread out and spread thin. I think, especially in the iterative phase, at least from startup, we did what was called like P1, P2, P3. Like we start to set priorities and we start to knock them down. So like when we have a bajillion ideas and like, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great? We like hold a spreadsheet, we list them out, and we say what comes first, what comes second, what comes third. And so like being able to just walk through it as an outside user who comes in, who has no idea that you've spent 5 years of your life and doing back-end coding and answering all these messages and thought of every possible scenario. If you can take a moment away from it, step in with fresh eyes. Okay, I'm a lost Substack author. I did this thing. Oh, there's a library. Click on the thing. You look at it just kind of with like innocent, fresh eyes, where you're like, oh shit, they're doing what? I don't even understand what this means. What do you mean publishing support? That's like vague to me. And so you can start to look at it with fresh eyes and just, I tend to say like step away from the wall. So like I was really big on spackling when I got to Peru. This will connect, I promise. I was spackling because they're all messy. And I was like, make it smooth, make it nice, make it smooth, and then like paint it. And I was getting a little OCT. I was like real close to the wall. And I had to like go hike a mountain and see my house get small and be like, there is no wall, and be up above it for a little bit, come back down and be like, the wall looks fine. Here are the main priorities. Get somebody in the door. You know what I mean? Like, people tend to tunnel vision in and like not see the bigger picture when they've been like in it. And so I tell people like that, break away, step away from the wall, go climb the mountain, see the bigger picture again. What was that bigger picture? What was the seed that brought you into the thing? And then build from the base. We need roots, baby. So that's the stability. That's the foundation, something to come back to. And I find that process of like, get in there, but then like get out and step away from the details, step away from the wall, and then come in with fresh eyes and go, oh yeah, no wonder people are lost, or no wonder people are getting disengaged at this point, or no wonder people expect sales right away. Like, and start to see what their perspective would be from their eyes and their experience. And that's what I did in product, is just like, and that's what I do in healing. It all connects. Like, people are like all in their story, and I'm like, hey, how does this fit? Why don't you just feel your body for a second? Are you here? And so then people are like, oh, you know, it's all the same stuff. Big picture, little picture, zoom in, zoom out, let things go, let things in. It all comes back to very simple concepts. It's just that we make it very, very complicated and difficult. Now squish your face. And see, we're back. Like, isn't that fun? As much as we can get into the head, like, let's not take any of it too seriously. We're showing up for something really meaningful. It's really beautiful, and like, everybody chill.
No,
so take the pressure off yourself, because you are doing a ton of work, and I do see the purpose of it, but like,
no, that's why I took a step back. I actually literally took a step back from the whole thing, because I was like pounding my head against the wall. And then that was one of the things I was like, you know, I went back
to the wall if you're pounding your head against the wall.
Yeah. Well, so I was like, when I walked in there today, I looked at the library, and I was like, you know, it needs some work. It needs a bit better organization. And that's where you take a break, come back. And it's not, you know, when you're building it to hopefully to drive sales for your indie authors, but also make it easier for people to go through it. And some of the things that I saw it's just, like I said, like I'm at that point. Do I just build it off another platform and just do it from scratch? Like, that's what I'm thinking. And I'm kind of like, and do I have the energy for that? So I did hire somebody to do it, but they didn't do what they're supposed to be doing. And nothing wrong with it. It's hard.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, you've built so much, and like, my intuition says, don't tear it all down. You have more than you think you have. Just go through with like a focus this time. Now that you've seen a lot of different options, you've spread it out on the table, that for the process to kind of come back in and like focus on the major points that drove you in the first place, knowing that you cannot control results for anyone. You can only put the intuition in and build what you feel drawn to build. And that overcomplicating it as a single human being holding it is just going to make you crazy. So you're doing good. You made a cool thing. I do hope if anybody's watching and watches the shorts or whatever, like, having someone be at your back as an author, and that is John, to support him and to be like, keep going, keep building. How can I help? Here's what I have to offer, is going to be really helpful for him. So he's not weeding through, what do you do? What do you do? What do you want? Blah, blah, blah. That like, if you come to him with like, you know, I want to see this, I want this to be in this way, it'll help also give some of that direction in. With kindness and not demand. That at the end of the day, it's not your project. So I think everybody needs to step back from that stuff a little bit, because everybody gets so emotionally involved. My book, my thing. And I think if we can just like loosen it up a little bit and be like, John, you're not going to be able to create sales for people. Other people buy the book. That's not your job. Take that one off your shoulders. What you can do is show up and make the thing that you really care about good.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Take it or leave it. Any advice that I say, I'm always like, I don't know.
So I know I know we have a small window, and I don't know, it's 4:30. Well, it's 4:30 my time, 3:30 your time.
Yeah.
Are we still good in time?
Yeah, I'm still good on time. My boys will be back at 5, so I've got an hour and a half.
Okay. Well, I don't
to
think
myself with you.
There's so much we talked about, which is kind of cool. We packed it all in. I don't know how we did that, but we did. So if we kind of wrap this up, I mean, obviously you're still struggling writing you're not struggling writing, you're struggling to publish your stuff or get yourself in a
format and weave together a lot of writing and
Yeah.
get them into containers that make sense and last. That's where I'm at.
So,
Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted.
I mean, like from a public, like you worked in publishing, I'm going to say that, but from that point of view, what would you, if you had somebody that comes in there and say, what is the one thing that I should really be focusing on as a self-published or indie author? What should I be doing? What would be the response to that?
Oh God, I'm not the person to ask. I'm not great at that. I'm not. I think for me, the things that I am good at is big picture thinking, and also like systematic, like systems. When it comes to actually writing the book and what to write and how to get there, I am struggling through that for myself. I have to take my own advice to prioritize my own life and see what fits and show up for the things that are important and meaningful and most fundamental for me. So in terms of giving advice to other writers, I tend to not be great about that, but I really try to like take the things that do come out of my mouth as a reflection to be like, this is something that's really important for me. So if you're basically out there talking about what everybody else needs to do, just like turn it back in and look in. And that's probably exactly the thing you need to do. I would say that's the advice, that like you can know what everybody else should do, but to actually apply it and do the thing, that's the deep and inner work of integrity and integration. So I'll be doing that for myself instead of telling you more about what you should do to write the book that I haven't written yet.
And about your healing process, I mean, how did people reach you? How do they contact you? What do they expect?
Sure. I have been putting at the bottom of all of my posts the Stan store. I have a storefront that has guided work, ordering a reading, setting up a free consultation. I do 15-minute consultations, or setting up a full session. So that's one link with all the stuff. And I put that at the bottom of my posts, as well as in the top link. In terms of what to expect, I actually, as much as it's woo and it's hippie and it's witchy or whatever, I like to reframe it as it's deeply simple, deeply logical, reverse engineering the body, and systematic. And so I have all of this intellectual, tech-based, systems-based thinking that I kind of processed all the hippie woo-woo through, that I actually think it's incredibly logical of like what you put in your body, pumping your body with air, basic life force ingredient of the pump that most of us are holding their breath, therefore starving ourselves of the main thing that's going to heal us and circulate. Number 2, let it out. The body self-cleans, let out the things it doesn't need. Most of us are micro-clenching, holding from muscle memory that we're shamed and controlled for anything we want to release. And then also that anything dense is holding, any constriction is holding, and therefore blood doesn't pump through, the thing doesn't heal. And that finally, everything's trying to go from inside to out. And so there are certain ways that the body is trying to purify, clean itself, get rid of the stuff it doesn't need. And it's actually, if you reverse engineer it, so I start at the fingertips And then I move in through the wrists and I take that dense tissue, break it up, and allow it to flush out of the body. So it's really for me about this. The body was designed a certain way, seeing it, feeling it, that is the truth, and then being empowered to be able to move that stuff out of your body. Am I clenching and holding on? Oh shit, my ears are singing. All right, how do I loosen it up? How do I chill it out? Okay, now what's making me feel clenched? What's making me feel shut down? Now I'm going to look at that level. So that's usually what I do is I take the idea and then through the study of the body, I reverse engineer, where does it want to go and what does it need? So that's the very like practical, logical healing methodology that I use that actually integrates many old and ancient natural methods. But I see them working together systematically in layers. And then the other part that is witchy is that I can feel people. But I actually think we all have that capability to really tune in and feel and sense each other. I've just practiced it longer, maybe deeper, and I'm able to tune in when people have that micro expression of discomfort or when people are clenching in a certain way or react to something that maybe it's witchy or maybe it's just mirroring in the way that we were all designed to kind of pick up clues on each other. So that's my healing methodology in terms of what you can expect. It's a little bit of this. Where it's kind of breaking past the facade and not being like, I need to know it all and figure it all out and tell you how I am. But like, let's loosen up, loosey-goosey, soften up, get real.
So she actually, I'm going to let you know, Megan actually pegged, I think it was this ear. She said, this is swollen. And I was like, there's nothing. There's a little swollen now, but not that much. But it was like inflamed. Yeah. And we were working through it, and that was part of the problem. That was one of the problems.
Yeah, there's a lymph area that got inflamed from like a repeated muscle memory thing that usually came from an underlying emotional thing. So my job is to just kind of track it and reflect it, and then people can take it or leave it. If they're like, "You're a liar," I'm like, "Okay." And if they're like, "Oh shit, look, that thing's not moving. That hurts." And you're like, well, there you go. Great. I'm glad that reflection was useful. So I don't really expect anybody to do anything. I just want us to reflect and see what's real in there. And for some reason, I can tune into that. But I think it's just a practice, highly subtle, attuned.
But you've learned this from experts or not, like other people in the sense that they were doing, like the monks.
No.
Didn't you spend time?
Well, I learned this because I studied with my body every night, and I would go, what happens when you do this? Oh, that zings. That's weird. Well, what happens when you do this? So I literally just like tracked and traced every energetic zing, tingle, twitch, and just was asking my body and talking with my body. Yeah. Now, I was in a Buddhist monastery. I was working with shamanic practitioners in the jungle. I was working with maestros up at the top of mountains. People just kept coming to help me tune into how do we turn this thing off and all the stories and listen. And then once we listen, we feel, we sink in, then we can hear what it needs, how it works, why it's there. And so I think that it's, yes, part of it was having some teachers that helped point me back to what's capable and within me. But it was me studying and meditating for 15 years and even beyond, because I was a dancer and I was like, this knuckle moves like this and this way and this way. And most people are just like, oh, I'm using my body. I hate you, body. Punish you, body. Look like this, body. And then they're like, why does it not like me? And it's not working. And I'm like, what happens when we go, what does this need? Very different energy. So I looked at it from this angle when most people are looking at it from that angle. And I think that there was something under there, and I just let it teach me and unfold rather than this thing. Like, that's why I'm like, I discovered it. I remembered it. I felt it. It's not something anyone's doing, but that's why it's kind of hard, because I'm like, it works with every practice, but it's because it's holistic and works together. It has breath work, it has scraping, it has scratching, it has wiggling, it has certain things where I'm just like, whoa, feel that. Whoa. And you're like, oh, I did feel that. Cool. It's not what people expect. It doesn't look like particularly like healing that you would think, but I am seeing just astounding results consistently.
And we did this all over Zoom. So
Yeah.
it's all virtual. So if you're interested in talking to her or get a consultation, please do. And I'll make sure her link and bio is in the summary. Anything else you want to add to the conversation? Because this has been wild. It's been all over, which has been great. I love these conversations because it's not it's fluent and it's normal conversations. So I
Heck
appreciate it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I am so grateful that you have opened up the space. I am so grateful for the support structure that you give so many people, and the love that you put into it, that I really feel that it's authentic and that it's caring and that it's beautiful work that you're doing. And I'm just appreciative for this opportunity to have a lovely conversation with you that includes let's go here, let's go there. I don't know where we're going. Let's talk about stuff. It was very enjoyable and fun. And I just think you're great. And yeah, I hope everybody has a wonderful day and maybe enjoyed something from this chat.
And I just want to give a shout out to Emma. Thank you. I want to give out a shout out to Emma, Danny, Marpete. She's from Vancouver, I think from BC. I don't know if she's from Vancouver, but there's a couple other people that jumped in here, put comments. I appreciate everyone that came in here. Thank you very much. And really, honestly, thank you. Thank you very much. You are a wingman or a wing woman. Yeah, you're.
My part is sending people your way who are like, I feel lost on Substack and I write things. I'm happy to keep doing that and keep singing your praises and other people that are just doing wonderful things here on Substack. I really believe in doing the thing I believe in, which is, supporting each other. So I'm happy to. Thank you.
All right, just hang tight, okay?
Okay.
And thank you, everybody. Thank you for another podcast, and hope you enjoy it. And we'll catch you next week.